Hi, guys, and welcome to this week's podcast with me, Amber D. I've been doing a little research and I found that I should be telling you guys where you can find me in the beginning of the podcast as opposed to the end. So, with that being said, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Amber D, and that's the THE underscore Amber underscore DEE. Also, you can go visit me on my website at theamberd.com and go over there and get some of my cool stuff or found out some information there. So, this week I want to talk about growing your brand and not necessarily just growing your brand as your business, but also growing your personal brand because you are a representation of yourself, which means you are your brand. And I think that you should start thinking like that, thinking of yourself as a brand. Start thinking, what do you want people to associate you with when they think of you or when your name comes up? Or is there a particular subject that you want to be seen as the expert? Or whatever it is, as is your brand. Maybe you want people to immediately, when they think about marketing, you're the first person that comes to mind. Or um, they need someone to host an event, and you're the first person that comes to mind when it comes to talking about child welfare or something like that. Like whatever it is, what your brand is, what you want to come across. Because of course, your brand is kind of what people say about you when you're not there. What do you want people to say about you? And whether it's in your business or, like I said, your personal life, you have to find that out. Like what is that thing? Once you know this, you can start um, begin to be more strategic about your brand and kind of how you're going to interact with people and kind of what do you want to give off? What do you want people to say about you, right? Um, so that's one thing that you should think about when we start talking about your brand. One way for you to start building your personal brand is audit your online presence. Look on Facebook or where you are on Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat, wherever you are, these social platforms, or you're on LinkedIn. Kind of what are you giving off as your personal brand? Not even, like I said, just your business. What kind of vibe are you giving off? Are you posting a lot of selfies? That's really focused maybe on you or your clothes. Maybe you have a cute outfit and that's all you're posting about. Or are you only posting a bunch of flat lays? Like think about what are you giving off? Like kind of remove yourself from yourself really because you're the one that's posting those things, and think about, like, if I was to see this page, what would I think about this person? What would come across to me? And if you feel so attached where you kind of can't separate yourself, then I would definitely suggest have a friend, family member, or someone that you trust to give you some kind of feedback, like constructive feedback on how you can kind of fix that, based on what you want your brand to be or what you want your brand identity to be. And if you're not giving that off, like I said, go back and fix that. What can you do? How can you alter that? It's never too late for you to rebrand yourself. So think about that. Also, be purposeful in what you're sharing when you're thinking about your personal brand. What information are you talking about? Are you engaging in a lot of gossip, or he say she say stuff? Maybe you're not even intentionally doing that, but going back and stepping outside yourself and looking at your brand, maybe you are unintentionally, but because that's the things that you're talking about all the time, that's kind of what people are going to connect you as. And maybe that's something that you want. Maybe your brand is to stay on type of entertainment news, or you want to be the controversial person, like whatever it is. But if that's not what you're going after, going back and looking at what you're posting and what you're sharing, and being intentional and being strategic about that. Another good way for your personal brand to grow is to associate with other strong brands. And that's so important. I think a lot of people overlook this. And this is not just in your personal life, but also with your business. Like having an association, excuse me, can either strengthen or weaken your connection with others. And that's really important. If you associate with someone that doesn't really have a good brand or maybe has a negative brand and you're associated with them, unfortunately, you may be grouped into that category, even though you're not necessarily that type of person or that type of brand. So it's always important to know your relationships and kind of how would that look, excuse me, to certain people. That's why you see like in the news or these NFL players or entertainers and whatever that is, entertainment, NBA, celebrities, whatever. If someone does something um, that is negative, whether they got into an accident or in a fight or was driving drunk, people are quickly to lose endorsements. Pepsi or Coca Cola will quickly drop you if you do not match well with their brand. So you kind of have to think about yourself. You are these big entities, and you have to think, do I want to be associated with this person? Do I want to be in this circle? I used to work at this really big company here locally, and it's really hard to get into that company. And I never went back and actually changed my LinkedIn, excuse me. And but then I was getting a lot of emails from people who were requesting me to be in my circle of friends, and I'm like, I don't know these people. Why they're requesting me? But then I later found out if you're associated with me on LinkedIn at this company, it's an easier way for you to be merged in because recruiters look at who you are friends with on LinkedIn or you associated with. So people were requesting me so that because they like my brand, they like what I had, what I stood for because I worked for this company, and they wanted to be a part of that. So you kind of have to think about it. Do I want to be associated with this person? Will this be good for me or will it not be good for me? And it's not necessarily saying you're a just an opportunist and this is the only reason that you're trying to connect with me because of what I have to offer, but also what you can give. You also want to think about that because it's always a two-way street. What can we do for each other? And that's really key when you're networking, but that's a whole nother topic. But definitely when it comes to your brand, Forbes recommends that you start with the three C's, and the three C's are company, college, and colleagues. So when you're trying to associate yourself with other brands that may fit with you and your brand, whether it's your personal brand or your business brand. They say think about what school you attended, whether it was college or high school or whatever. What groups can you join? What alumni newsletters can you contribute to? Like, will that fit good for your brand? Will that be something excellent to be on your resume or to put on your website to say that you were featured in this university's newsletter? Think about, are there opportunities in your company that maybe you don't know about? Maybe you can write for your company's blog or you can write and be a part of your company's newsletter. That's kind of big stuff if you have a really good company. Also, consider submitting guest posts to the company blog or any blogs that you may know. Or think about your colleagues. They may have already built a following and they have a great brand. Maybe you can collaborate with one of your colleagues at your job. That's an excellent opportunity for you to grow your brand. Also, when we're talking about our business brand, let's kind of shift a little bit and let's talk about growing our business brand. And again, your business is just like your personal brand. It's just, you kind of do two different things. But in the same way, you want people to think of you in a certain way. So you want people to think of your business in a certain way. So you always want to be, recognized as quality, as professional. So one way for you to do this is to own your domain name. So if you have this brand that you're trying to build for your company, go ahead and purchase your domain name. You can go through GoDaddy or a bunch of different ways for you to purchase that. And that's something actually relatively inexpensive for you to go ahead and purchase so that you can own that. Another good way for you to do that is to use your domain name's email address. So like that at theamberd.com, that's how you can contact me. That's a great way to show that you are actually serious about your business and you're professional and you actually taking the steps that you need to take to be seen as such. Now, I'm not putting down anyone that uses like say if someone was, or me for example, was using the Amber D at Gmail. I understand if you feel that that's the only way that you can kind of grow your business at the time, and maybe that's the only thing that worked for you. But it's not very expensive for you to change and start using your domain name. It's actually very relatively inexpensive for you to do that, and that's a great way to show that you are professional and you are serious about your business. Another way for you to do this with your brand is display consistency and an attractive brand throughout, and that's visually. So, like on when you're on social media, definitely Instagram because it's visual, right? 100% of the time. So anybody on Instagram is on Instagram for your visuals. So being consistent with your visuals, maybe having a certain color scheme or a certain filter that you use all the time is a great way for you to brand yourself. If you need to DIY it, you can always use Canva or PicMonkey or Be Funky to create your images. But if you feel that you may need a little help, you can also purchase things like that through Creative Market or Etsy. They have different designs and things there that you can use. But long as you are being consistent and staying on brand, I think that is perfect. Also, I noticed that people tend not to use their favicons, and that is what populates at the top of your windows, like when you're in Google Chrome or Safari or whatever, um, those windows that pop up, and like when you're on YouTube, you see the red square with the white play button. It's not an actual word, but it's just showing you that that window is open. So that image that's right there, a lot of people don't use those, and it'll just be a black box. And I think that's an opportunity that you're missing out to brand yourself. So actually using that and creating it and putting it on your website is always a great idea to show your professionalism and to be consistent. So I know on Squarespace is really simple. I use Squarespace. I know it's super simple on Squarespace. It's actually kind of like uploading an image, and it'll be populated there, and all you have to do is save it. I'm not quite sure about WordPress, but I'm sure it's something just as simple. Another thing that you can do is use a nice photo of yourself, especially when you set it up on Google or on your social media feeds or whatever. Use a nice photo of yourself. Maybe not necessarily a a photo that doesn't have really good picture qualities. You can take a photo of yourself and not actually have to go to a photographer, even though that's ideal. You don't have to spend all that money on a photographer. Maybe you can take a picture or have someone to take a good picture of yourself, a nice little headshot, have it clean, and maybe even edit it up on your iPhone, or you can take it with a nice camera and go on Adobe and fix it, edit it to make it look a little professional. That's actually a great way, and I feel like a lot of people kind of miss those opportunities. Next thing you can do is use testimonials. You can use those on your website. You can use those on social media. That's a great way to show your professionalism and kind of show that you're an expert in what you do, and not just saying, hey, look at me. This is what I do. I'm great at it. But you also have people to kind of back you and say, yeah, actually, they are great at it because I love this and this about them. Like everything that's great about them, and they're actually not lying. It's perfect. That is a great way for you to grow your brand and show your professionalism. So when you get on social media, another thing that I see a lot of people kind of miss is describing what they do on social media. Some people, I've done some audits for people before on their social media. Um, and on Instagram, I'll see people kind of use a lot of slang wording, or some technological terms that in their field, in their particular field, let's say marketing, or graphic design or something, or coding, they may use a particular term or acronym or something that me as a consumer have no idea what you're talking about. So break it down into layman's terms. If I come to you, what can you do for me? Describe what you do. Like for me, on my bio, I say I help you start your online business successfully. So I get straight to the point. You want to start a business online? Come to me. I can help you do that. Or people can say, happily helping entrepreneurs with copy if you're a copywriter. So think about that. Like add that type stuff to your brand, and that stuff sticks out, excuse me, and it grows your brand and it makes you look very professional, and it also increase your clientele and your customers. Whatever it is you do, whatever you sell, let people know that up front, because you don't want them to guess or try to figure out what it is. You give it straight to them. You have to always remember that when you're in business, make it as simple as possible. Leave out as much guesswork as possible, because you don't want to allow people to guess. You want to kind of be straight to the point and clear about what it is that you do and what services you offer and or products. Also, another thing for you to do to grow your brand is to kind of tell your story, especially if you are having services. Tell your story. Let people know kind of how they can relate to you, because you want to be relatable. You don't want to seem like people don't can't talk to you or people can't relate to you, especially if you have a service business, right? I've had so many people like send me an email, and I respond back to them, and they will say like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you responded." And I'm like, "Why would I respond?" And I didn't know that so many people don't respond to stuff. Like I think that is just ironic to me. I understand that you can't respond to everything, but it's really important for me to have customer service because I know that's what's important to me. So you have to kind of think about your market. What do you, like I said, you want to think about your brand. What do you want to give off? What do you want your audience to know? What do you want your audience to feel about you? And I think having that, telling your story and kind of having that, um, is a great way to build your brand. Also, when you are, I'm still kind of on social media, thinking about your bio. If you are virtually and you're going to be online, a great way to build some trust is to say what city you're in, what state you're in, because you can be anywhere, right? And people are like, I'm not sure if I trust you, or I'm not sure if I can talk to you because you are probably like one in a thousand or thousands of people that's doing this exact same service, or products, or selling these same products. Like, how can I trust you? Actually, knowing where you're located kind of builds that trust and makes you a little bit more trustworthy, because I don't feel like you're a scammer from somewhere that I can never get in contact with you. So that's always a good idea. And I do that on my Twitter. I let people know where I'm from. I put my city there so that we can build that trust, because I am an actual person and you can actually contact me. Lastly, for building your brand, I recommend responding to comments. I know comments on Instagram gets a little massive at times, especially if you have engagement. And I can't say that I get to every single last comment, because someone may post something on a comment on a post that I made, or comment on a post that I made maybe months ago, and it didn't even show up on my feed, because by the time I check my feed, I've had, X amount of comments, and you only allowed so many comments that you get to see on Instagram. So it could be something that I completely missed. So you can't possibly get to all comments, but as many as possible, I recommend you try to respond to those, because that's going to build, once again, that trustworthiness in yourself and in your brand. And, statistics say that it takes someone 7 times to view you and your content and your information before they decide to purchase from you. So that's a great way to build that connection and build that rapport with your audience or with that particular customer or client that you are interested in getting their services or selling them a product, is actually being responsive and not feeling like you're better than or you don't have time for that. Honestly, you have to put in the work if you're trying to grow your business and your personal brand. It takes work, and it's definitely not an easy task, but the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it, right? So at any time you feel like you need help, always seek assistance, because it's more important for you to work on your brand than in your brand. And I recently read that, and I thought that it was so profound, because I too struggle with working in my brand more so than on my brand, and that takes up a lot of time. So hopefully these tips I have given you today are something for you to go ahead and start working on like immediately. Some things you can go ahead and start implementing to grow your brand and your business. Okay, guys, so that's all I have for you this week. Hopefully, you can implement those things immediately. If you have any questions or comments or any topics you want me to talk about, please send them over to Amber at the Amber D, and that's DEE.com.